we're here today to celebrate our 20th listing on the exchange. Now, for Sanlam, that's a momentous occasion because up till then, we've been a mutual business owned by our policyholders.
Reaching a milestone of 100 years in existence and being listed for 20 years is a remarkable achievement.
On the far side of the screen, your security code, SLM, the alpha code everyone obviously has been knowing for all these years. In another 1 minute, please join us in a countdown. We would like you to make as much noise because we need to push this price up a bit. Counting down at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Financial discipline around capital in particular as a mutual is not there when you're a listed company. You know, you're in the public eye, your delivery needs to lift.
On the 30th of November 1998, Sanlam listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Since then, it has changed from a conventional mutual insurer owned by its policyholders to Africa's biggest non-banking financial services group with clients from South Africa to Morocco. But how does a company expand from Cape Town to Casablanca? The answer dates back 100 years, and the journey is quite amazing. Sanlam was founded in June 1918 in Cape Town, South Africa, just 3 months after the founding of short-term insurer Santam. The South African National Life Assurance Company Limited, or Sanlam, was registered to build a lasting business and economically uplift poor Afrikaner communities. Over the next few decades, Sanlam would become one of the biggest insurers in South Africa while never forgetting its heritage. But by the end of the 20th century, South Africa was undergoing profound political changes due to the end of apartheid and the dawn of a non-racial democracy. In 1984, 6% of Sanlam's policyholders were black, but by the following year, more than half of the company's new business came from black clients. By 1992, the number of black policyholders had quadrupled. The company was a slow bureaucracy with a mutual structure that meant it couldn't move fast enough to respond to the market risks and opportunities. Sanlam needed to become a company that could compete in the new South Africa and global economy. This change needed to happen fast, and as history would show, the answer to its problem was to demutualize and become publicly listed. But there was a problem. Demutualization was a mammoth task, and many experts were unsure that it could be done.
If I think back, I just think of this huge project with people from London and people from everywhere, lawyers, actuaries, logistic experts, people from 3 different law firms in South Africa, accountants, actuaries from all converging in Sanlam. All working on this demutualization. It was a buzz around the clock. Yes, you had external people who helped, but the rest of us, apart from our normal duties, had to also do this demutualization. And it was a huge challenge to do this in record time and to keep the show on the road and still be the best insurer while all this was happening.
28 October 1998. Sanlam launches its R4 billion share offer, the largest initial public share offering in the South African market. This launch marks the final stage of Sanlam's transformation to a listed company, achieved in record time compared to other demutualizations worldwide. Today, Sanlam is poised to achieve another milestone in becoming a broadly based financial services group.
Today is an historic day for Sanlam. We have added to our impressive lists of firsts as an organization. 99.5% of our policyholders voted yes, a world record. More than 1 million people participated in the vote. This is the largest IPO in the history of South Africa. The scoreboard is getting published daily and also internationally, and that is the share price of Sanlam.
Sanlam had achieved an incredible feat and was now playing on the world stage. Its listing on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was the biggest in South African history. Sanlam shares were issued to 1.8 million policyholders, and for the first time, those South Africans participated in the mainstream economy.
Can you actually reflect that 20 years ago we were talking about mutuals, slow, dependable, superannuated, perhaps pale and male management, and today what we see is a very nimble organization right up there. Well, I think it's completely opened up the landscape about what black wealth, the potential of black wealth could be.
Johan van Zyl joined the Sanlam Group with a background as an agricultural economist. He became CEO of Santam in 2001, and by April 2003, he was appointed as Group CEO of Sanlam. He immediately refocused the group with diversification at the heart of the strategy. Sanlam would take its next step into the future with a new empowerment partner, Patrice Motsepe.
They looked around for who would be a suitable partner for Sanlam, and they came across Patrice. At the time, he was being caught by quite a few companies, and he says for him, it was how they mobilized ordinary people's savings to create a bigger company, and how Sanlam resonated with, the Afrikaans people.
Patrice assembled a consortium that would make up Ubuntu Butu, which included trade unions, religious groups, entrepreneurs, and women's and youth groups. With such a broad consortium behind him, the deal was signed and resulted in Ubuntu Butu owning 8% of Sanlam. The Ubuntu Butu deal was one of the most successful in South African history, and after a decade, Ubuntu Butu decided to reinvest and increase its stake in Sanlam from 8% to 14%. Between 2004 and 2005, Sanlam began moving aggressively into the entry-level insurance market in South Africa, buying companies that would strengthen its position and its offering. One of these acquisitions would not only help Sanlam fortify its South African position, but would serve as the seeds of the company's journey far beyond South Africa's borders.
We've had a strategy of partnering with local players. We realized quite quickly that we don't have the skills or the knowledge to go into a foreign country and establish ourselves. We don't know anything about local culture, local custom. So we wanted a local partner who could bring that knowledge or had that knowledge for us and was happy to invest with us.
However, they were always limited to English markets. Fortunately, almost since it had first left South Africa, Sanlam had been bumping into a company that would become its next big partner, none other than Moroccan insurance giant Saham. The Saham Finances acquisition was the biggest deal in Sanlam's history, deepening the company's direct presence in 33 countries on the African continent, and it was driven by CEO Ian Cook. Ian joined Sanlam in May 2006 when Johan van Zyl appointed him as Chief Executive of Strategy and Projects. Barely a year later, he became Chief Executive of Santam, where he would double the company's market cap. He came back to Sanlam in January 2015 to replace Johan as Group CEO. His first priority was expanding the Sanlam brand across the African continent.
Today we announced a substantial deal. Saham Finances is a major insurance business, the largest insurance business outside of South Africa, and given our aspirations on the African continent, it's a very, very substantial opportunity for us in Sanlam, and we're very, very excited. It's the biggest transaction we've done in the history of the company, and bringing Saham within the Sanlam fold is a very, very substantial achievement for us.
Over the 20 years, yes, the first 5 years was very, very difficult, but since 2003, Sanlam started a period of growth. And I think what was achieved over that period was really real wealth creation for the shareholders, but indirectly also for all your other stakeholders through the tax that you pay, the jobs that were created, all of that. Now today we sit where 40% of our shareholders are international shareholders. We are one of the 20 largest companies on the stock exchange. And if you take that, and you take that, all the international money that flows into the country as a result of that, Sanlam have really built up a great history and a foundation for the future.
It is quite pertinent that this year the Sanlam Group turned 100 years old, and we're marking the beginning of this journey with Saham on the year of our centenary. I take it that the next 100 years starts today, wherein we are going to build Sanlam into a truly Pan-African organization.
It was as simple and as complex as that. From a humble mutual, Sanlam became a leading financial services group on the African continent. But what does the future hold?
And it was about building solid businesses in South Africa and using that solid base that we built in South Africa to develop in territories outside South Africa that we thought we could make a difference in. And many organizations have diversified, but not always successfully. Because we've had a resilient business and we've had a diversified business, we've been able to withstand the knocks that we've had. And then, of course, the attitude to get up and say, okay, we've had the knock, let's go back and try and recover. Let's recover the money or try and recover our position. We've had this solid strategy in place since over the last 15 years. So I think we'll continue with that. We have a view that Africa will be the next Asia. It'll attract a lot of capital, a lot of interest, and we want to be there for that opportunity. But of course, what we're doing is we're building solid businesses, more Sanlams and more Santams in all of those countries. And there'll be ups and downs over the next 20 years, but I certainly won't be selling my Sanlam shares.
Those 7 founders would have been very surprised to look forward and see what was created over the last 100 years. So perhaps to conclude, it would be good to go back to words spoken almost 100 years ago when Sanlam chairman, Willy Hofmeyr, addressed the very first AGM of Sanlam on the 23rd of December 1919, and he said, and I quote, "Our foundations have been built on solid ground and sound principles. There's every reason to look forward to the time when this youngest South African institution will rank as one of the strongest of its kind in South Africa, and not only keep pace with the development and progress of our country, but will largely contribute thereto," end quote. The contribution of Sanlam will be just as important in the next 100 years.